Three, two, one. Welcome to the SaaS Pulse Show. My name is Michael Bertoni, and I'm the founder and CEO of SaaS Talent. And so unbelievably excited today. We have a great SaaS company, person that heads up solutions, success, support. Amazing, right? Doing everything for this company. Daniel Zematis. He is the VP of Solutions and Success for GoDeskLess, which is the only mobile-first solution that fully equips your field workforce to deliver service excellence. It's great to have you on the show, Dan.
Thanks, Mike. Great to be here. Happy to join you.
Yeah, so what I always love to start out with, Dan, is the backstory, kind of the superhero backstory. What brought you to this company, GoDeskLess, and seems like a pretty cool solution that a lot of companies are looking for. But what's your background like? So your background that led you to this position.
Yeah. So like many of my fellow Gen Xers, I sort of fell in love with computers way back in the day growing up. Your Commodore 64s, your Gateway 486s, the real old school stuff. Just immediately became that IT nerd. Went through the different stages of college and tried a couple of different things. But eventually just kind of was drawn back to IT. So worked desktop, got some certifications, went into infrastructure, and eventually I was pulled away from all of that and recruited into a sales engineer role at a healthcare company. And bounced around to a couple of those. And, one of the last ones I worked for had both a hardware and a software component to some of the things that they were selling. And, a couple of the medication platforms, there was drug mixing and some distribution. They were pure SaaS products. And, I took a liking to the freedom in selling something that was not tied to something physical. Took some different roles since then to kind of learn the ropes within the last couple of companies I've worked for, and haven't looked back.
Yeah, loving it. I mean, so tell the audience, for people listening right now, GoDeskLess is a seed or a pre-seed company.
Yeah.
Dan is doing everything, right? Dan told me in the pregame, doing everything. So explain to the audience, what is solutions and success and support? What
Yeah.
are these things? You and I both know what these things are, but what are these things? What do you do? Like, what do you do for the company?
Yeah. So from a pre-sales perspective, it's a lot of solutions engineering, right? It's getting into the nitty-gritty with the customer, finding out what their use cases are, kind of building demonstrations tailored to those use cases. And then, once we kind of work through the sales process, maybe setting up pilots or proof of concepts, that sort of thing. Um, Once we get through the sales process, then I'm also in charge of onboarding. So implementation kind of rolls through me as well.
So basically,
So
let me give it to the world, right? Because
yeah,
I've been, it's funny, Dan's been doing this for a number of years. So he is helping salespeople close business, right? So if you're a SaaS person listening to this, you need a solutions engineer, a solutions person. They help close business. And then what else Dan has to do is, after you close the deal, you're the sales guy, you're the founder, you're the sales guy, like, then he has to make sure the person's onboarded and happy,
yeah.
right? Everybody needs a Dan in their life. That's what I think. So you were gonna say
So yeah,
the success
that's
piece, like the
implementation.
onboarding.
So once we get we get the customer signed on, my team goes through and basically does the installation, any implementations that we have to do for integrations with other CRMs. We handle those. We do the builds. We then set up meetings to talk to the customers and kind of help them configure and build. And then from there, they're transitioned into our customer success organization. And that's where you do the quarterly review meetings, and you make sure that they're utilizing the software and what their license count is, whether or not they're happy with what they're doing now, whether we've got new features maybe they'd be interested in checking out. So there's a
Upsell.
lot of post sales end of the spectrum as well.
Yeah, so I have to tell Dan, I mean, so in this world we're living in, he is doing a lot. And So it's great. I mean, so we have people that are playing just the role of SE, and we have people that are playing just the role of customer success. Dan is doing both of those things for the SaaS company. So awesome stuff, Dan. So give us a breakdown. So GoDeskLess.
Yeah,
When I check this out, I mean, again, the only mobile first solution that fully equips your field workforce to deliver service excellence. That's the tagline. What is it all about? So give us the high level of GoDeskLess. What is it? What's the value proposition?
sure, sure. So I think at its core, you can think of it as an end-to-end field service management solution. And when I say that, I mean from the customer experience all the way to the end of it, where a field rep is closing out the ticket with a signature from the customer.
Mm,
The elevator pitch kind of depends on how much time we've got in the elevator, but the short version is we're able to make the process of communicating, scheduling, and then resolving any field service task, whether it's break fix, whether it's installations or maintenance, et cetera, like whatever the use case is, we're simplifying the process for the customer and the dispatcher or the scheduler, the person kind of working to resolve the issue in the meantime. And then if they have to schedule somebody to go out and work through the problem, we're also making things easier for that field service team. And that's sort of the way that we demonstrate the product. We take
mm.
on those personas and we present the use case that we find out in the discovery calls, whether it's a B2B or B2C scenario. And really the longer version kind of talks about some of the feature sets and how we present those and reduce truck rolls and that sort of thing. So it's all about kind of improving customer satisfaction.
Yeah, field service. I mean, obviously, a lot of field service over the last few years, right? I can only imagine you probably had some good growth, but what are the customers? So, one of the other things I always like to talk about is the ideal customer profile. So, if people
Yeah.
listening to this
Yeah.
can reach out to Dan and give him some leads, right? So that's
Yeah.
what you're listening to this right now. If you're listening to this, people that do field service, big companies. So Dan, tell the audience about the customer. Who's the customer? Who's the ideal customer? And what's that all about?
Yeah. So I think one of the really cool things about our software is that um, it's malleable enough to support both the B2B and the B2C scenarios. So, our customers may have everyday people like you and me sitting in their homes, and they've got, a broken refrigerator, right? I want to call, GE or Maytag or somebody to come out and fix this issue that I've got with this appliance.
Right.
And in another scenario, it may be more of a B2B type situation where, I'm a tech services company and I handle, let's say, a hotel chain and any of the electronics that are in their hotel chain. And every time they've got an issue with one of their AV rooms, they contact my business and I send somebody out to fix that AV room.
Right.
So, depending on the situation, we're able to kind of mold what we're able to present and demonstrate from a services perspective into that use case. So there's our customers right now. We've got tech. We've got a customer who does installations of these huge ovens that can be inside or outside. We've got a government organization as well who sends techs out to fix issues at polling locations. It's a county organization. Like, whatever your brain can think of, if you're sending somebody out to fix something, we can kind of help with that process. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, totally. I mean, the one thing that I know about seed stage SaaS companies is they got to get focused,
Yeah.
right? So it's like, and sometimes they aren't focused. Sometimes they're a platform and they're doing it for everyone. So yeah, no, I totally get the service aspect. The other thing that I saw, which was interesting, is the only mobile first.
Yeah.
So why is that important? So why? Because it's funny. I was working the other day and I was in my car and I'm like, I can work like I can do all my work like on my phone, right?
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
pretty cool when you figure that out. But same thing, I would think, right? People are like, I can do this all from the phone. And I don't
Yep.
even need a desktop, right? So it's the only mobile. What is that all about?
Yeah, so I think that's probably our biggest differentiator when you kind of dig into it a little bit. So you're able to quickly initiate communication to a business, right?
Hmm.
Via SMS, or for our non-US customers, they use WhatsApp a lot,
Yeah.
especially in Europe. And this is a really cool feature because nobody wants to waste time navigating to a website to
Yeah.
start a chat session,
Totally.
and or get on the phone and sit in a phone queue. And the idea of sitting on hold, listening to a call tree for 20 minutes, it doesn't make sense with the technology that's available today. It just doesn't. So in our situation, being mobile first means you send a text, you get a response. Um, you can take a picture, you can take a video, you can send it in with your mobile phone, depending on the issue, and you also get responses with from maybe somebody doing triage or scheduling, and you get notifications when somebody's on their way to fix it as well, and it's kind of making that whole process really simple and efficient.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I could see it for my business. All right. I mean, so field service, it'd be cool if my customer could respond. So when is field service is the solution for your internal team doing service for the customer, or is the customer also engaged like in the platform as well? Like what's the scenario there?
Yeah, so the customer can be engaged in the platform as well, because one of the first things that they get as a response from the automation is it's basically a web app. They click a link on their phone, brings up the web browser on their phone, and they've got access to all the information about the ticket that they just created
Hmm.
automatically on the back end. And it has their information. It's got ways of communicating. They can hit a button, start a video call with the company that they're communicating with. They can just text back in the chat session, and throughout their journey, they're constantly going back to that web page to get updated information on their ticket as well. So they hit refresh and they can see somebody's been sent out to help them with that problem, or when the ticket's been moved from triage into dispatch to somebody for a truck roll. They get that update via SMS. They click on the link, and then that web page updates them on the situation.
Totally. So I want to dig in a little bit here, Dan, to pre-sales,
Yeah.
right? There's probably people listening to this right now that they don't even know what that is, right? Like pre-sales, solution engineering, SD. If you're a SaaS company, say you're a solopreneur founder or whatever, you need somebody in your team that's working with sales to
Yeah.
build the actual solutions. So describe to the audience, just give them a framework like by which you work, right? So describe, give some value, like this is what solution engineering is. Here's a quick little guide.
Yeah. So I'd say it probably starts with assisting the AEs in their discovery, right? If we're going to be presenting or demonstrating a product, there are certain things that we need to understand about the use case, and we need to understand about the customer, and we're able to help uh, get that information from the customer kind of during that discovery phase. The next thing that we're responsible for is making sure that the technology behind the demonstration is set up and configured and running correctly and smoothly.
Right.
I think that's probably been the biggest thing that I've had focus on from my sales engineering days is making sure that when you're discussing the product with a customer and showing it to them, the absolute last thing you want to do is to have it malfunction or hiccup or anything like that. So,
Right.
in ensuring that the demonstration has been tested out and is basically going to walk the customer through the exact issue that they're having and how
Mm-hmm.
you resolve it,
Mm-hmm.
and kind of nailing that use case for the customer so that by the end of it, or even in the middle of it, you have people clapping like, oh my God, this is exactly what I've been looking for. I need this in my life. And you just help the AEs and sales close that business.
Yeah, I mean, at a very high level, I mean, Dan's absolutely right. I mean, so the customer has major requirements or major challenges. You show them specifically this is how you do it in our software,
Yeah.
and then they're happy about it, right? I mean, so people don't understand that at a high level. Like, oh, somebody's just going to buy this, like understand what it does. No, no, you have to help them.
No,
Um,
and you eventually get into those conversations with, the opportunities tech folks as well. And when you have their technicians on a call and their IT folks on a call, if you don't have somebody who understands the vernacular and you're just a sales guy who, you've dabbled maybe,
right.
but you don't want to get in the weeds. You need the guy on the call that can get in the weeds with the customer, because that's gonna give you so much credibility as a company to be able to talk the talk, and not just show the bells and whistles, right?
Yeah, totally. I mean, it's something software is huge that we've just known for years, but basically in any sales deal, you need a salesperson and you need a technical person.
Yep.
Those people can sometimes be the same people, but in most cases, you're either better at one or the other one.
Yep.
And but to close business, Dan is the trusted advisor. I'm the sales guy that wants quota, right? So I want to sell it, right? I want to
Yeah.
make money, right? Dan is we trust Dan. He's our trusted advisor, technical person, right? You need that scenario when you're selling software, right?
Yep.
So let's
Yep.
let's dig into it a little bit with CS. So there might be people listening to this, they don't even know what CS is. I actually had a client one time, Dan, that they were losing customers
Huh.
and they were selling deals and they were losing customers. Like, I don't know why I'm losing customers.
Yeah.
Like, well, do you have somebody focused in customer success? And he's like, no. I'm like, again, you might laugh. You're like, you might laugh. You might like, but some
Yeah.
people listening to
Yeah.
this, okay, you sell a thing, you need technical people to help you sell it. Then when you sell it, then you got to actually make sure people are using it, right? So that's customer success. So explain the framework. You onboard somebody 30, 60, 90 days. How do you do that?
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, the way that we do onboarding, there's specific stages kind of built into the implementation plan. We have a 2 week end of life support, end of project life support, where the customer is still interacting, even though they're live, they're still interacting with their project team. But at
Mhm.
some point, after those 2 weeks, they're transitioned to customer success, and those folks, and especially in the SaaS world, it's imperative that you understand how the customer is using your software, um, from not only a utilization perspective, but also a licensing perspective. Um, and if you can understand, the way that their business may be changing, because a lot of times, especially with the product that we have now, they don't have processes in place necessarily to support software that we're giving them, right? They're creating a lot of this stuff on the fly because they've been working off of spreadsheets or some other antiquated way of managing scheduling and communication with customers.
Yeah.
So in the time that they are changing their processes to support this awesome product that we have, that's going to continue to evolve. And you have to understand how those customers are evolving, because they're going to be using the software maybe more or less than you had anticipated. And you need to be able to see that information. So
Yeah.
being able to have visibility into that data and how the customer is using the software and how much they're using it is critical from a success perspective. Because when you go back to them, you set up QBRs and these recurring calls with your customers to make sure that they're happy with what they bought. You need to go in there with some information. You need to go in there with some data and saying, hey, you're doing this, this, and this. That's great. Maybe this would be helpful for you. Maybe you can, maybe you're running out of licenses. You want to bring in this other part of the organization to use this software. This is how we would do it. Just having that knowledge beforehand as you're scheduling out those sessions with them is critical.
Yeah, that's awesome. So this has been a great chat digging in to solutions and success. Wanted to ask you a little bit about Munster, Indiana, right? Now, so So I see that you're in Munster, Indiana, right?
Yeah,
So tell us a little bit about, just tell us a little about the company, right? So where's the company located? How many people do you have in the company? Because I mean, I was digging in a little bit,
sure.
and where do you need help? Like, where do you need help from people listening?
Yeah, yeah. So the company's based in Cali. The CEO and the one of the co-founders both live out on the West Coast. Myself and our VP of revenue both live in the Chicagoland area. So Munster is it's a suburb. It's essentially a suburb of Chicago. Technically, it's Indiana, but um, we are we're really a suburb of the larger city. Um, and right now, in terms of the company size, we're under 50.
Mhm.
We're kind of right at that point. The majority, I think, of our employees is the dev team. We're the dev team's based in India,
Mhm.
and the uh, as far as where we need help right now, I think we're hiring a BDR out of Cali. I know there's an interview process going on for that, but from a talent acquisition standpoint, we we're sort of at an inflection point
Mhm.
where we're going to, today it's pretty organic, right? I know somebody, I'm
Sure.
comfortable with them, and when you're dealing with the chaos of a startup, that that close-knit feeling is important. But we're quickly reaching the point where we're going to require the services of somebody, because I've got a number of roles just in the areas that I'm managing
Yeah.
that I would need to be looking to fill in the next 6 months or so, because all of those areas that I'm managing, as our customer base grows, we're gonna need to sort of expand from every single one of those areas that I'm currently managing.
Yeah, Dan. I mean, obviously that's music to my ears, right?
Yeah.
Like, Mike, I need to hire tons of people. I'm
Yeah.
like, well, woo.
Yeah.
But Dan, this has been an awesome show. I am looking forward to continuing the discussion with you. Coming out to Munster, we'll take a trip. We'll go to Wrigley Field. Like I know some people in Chicago.
There you go.
I actually been out to Chicago a few times. I went to Wrigley Field, and it was like you went there and you're like, oh my God, this looks so small. Like it
It
looks so
does.
big, looks so big on TV, and it's just there's like people in the back, and it's like, oh my God, this is
Yeah.
crazy.
Yep.
But Dan, stay on the line for a couple minutes. We'll debrief. But this has been a great show. I mean, sounds like an awesome company. So everybody check out GoDeskLess, right? Field service. Get after it. So Dan, it's great having you on the show.
Yeah. Thanks. I appreciate the time.